Am I muted? Alrighty. Mhm. Okay, good morning, India. Can you guys hear me out? Just say yes or no. It's going to be a very, very interesting conversation, interactive sessions today. So let me hear and see which part of India you guys are from. All right. My name is Dr. Tenzin, and I am in the United States of America in New York. I'm the global director and also a faculty at Kaplan Medical who has helped thousands of students before in attaining the residencies of their choices, just like you guys are thinking of getting into one. So today we will be talking about a very interesting topic, which is on top of everybody's mind, the COVID-19. I do not know why it's called the novel, but yes, it's called the novel. We jokingly say that. Okay? So we're going to talk about it, not really on the COVID part of it, but we are going to definitely talk about the impact of COVID on US medical residencies. Right? So let's go ahead, and this particular webinar is being presented by Kaplan USA, Kaplan Medical, in conjunction with Logic West India. So today's agenda will be talking about pathway to residency, the new changes in that's going to happen in the USMLE exams. We're definitely going to talk about the impact and the discussions of COVID-19 on US residency processes. And then we'll also touch upon a base of why medical PG in the United States. And we'll go through a little bit of residency match data in the past couple of years. And last but not the least, we're going to talk about how we can help you attain the residency of your choices in the United States. Great. Now, before we dwell into the details of COVID-19 and its effects on the USMLE and the residency processes, there may be some of you guys, like every time I go anywhere in parts of the world, there are some students in the classroom, in the auditoriums, in the halls, in the stadiums, which has a little bit of understanding of the USMLE. And there are definitely some students who don't have any understanding on the USMLE and the residency processes. And some of them have 50% knowledge on the USMLEs. So that's why, just by virtue of that, I don't want to keep them left out. Yet at the same time, I'm not going to go really into A and the B and the C's of that whole processes, because my friends must be already talking about it in different webinars and events prior. So, like I said, let's try to understand the nitty-gritty details of the USMLE exams. For anyone to attain residency in the United States, you have to give the USMLE steps. Now let's talk about steps. The first one is the step 1, which is normally going to test you on the basic sciences, which comprises of the anatomy, behavioral science, biochemistry, micro-immunopathology, pharmacology, and physiology. So these are the subjects that you studied in the first 3 years of your medical school. Some of you guys may have different structure of syllabi. So some schools have 2 years of basic sciences, some of them have 3 years. So step 1 exam is normally going to test you on understanding the mechanism of diseases and the initial diagnosis. It's a total of 8 hours exam and the passing score is 194. The passing rate is 73%. So now that's step 1 that you studied in the first basic year in medical school. Let's go to step 2 CK after that. It's called clinical knowledge. They're going to test you on the 5 clinical subjects that you studied in the clinical years, mainly in the final years and the interns. Internal medicine, pediatrics, surgery, OBGYN, and psychiatry. Now this exam is for 9 hours and the passing score currently stands at 209. The passing rate is 75%. Now step 2 CK tests you on how to assess and apply the knowledge that you got clinically and treat them. That's what CK is going to test you upon. Step 2 CS is going to be called the clinical skills, which is going to really test your communication, interpersonal, and spoken English proficiency, plus the physical exams and the patient's note. There will be a total of 12 patient encounters, and this exam plus the step 3 that we're going to talk about are those current exams that you can give only in the United States. Now let me step back when I said that. For step 1 and CK, you can definitely give these exams any part of the world wherever you have access to prometric centers. Okay? Now, I'll pause here when I'm talking about step 2 CS. I explained it to you what it stands and how it's been conducted, what it tests you upon, but currently because of COVID, step 2 CS is currently on a hold. We'll talk that in detail. But it's important for you to know normally, before the pandemic happened, this is the scenario. Now, after you finish the CS, then let's come on to step 3. Step 3 is mainly going to test you on post-management and patient care. The similarity between step 2 CK and step 3 is the same subjects. The clinical subjects are going to be tested. Now the question is, if the same subjects are going to be tested, why am I being grilled again? Right? The question is easy. The question is valid, but the answer is not. The reason why step 2 CK and the step 3, the subjects are same, but they're retesting you is because when you took your step 2 CK, they are testing your knowledge under supervision of an attending. But when you are taking step 3, they're testing your knowledge without any supervision. Right? So therefore, they're going to test you mainly on understanding of clinical sciences, essential for the unsupervised practice of medicine. Step 3 is for license to practice medicine after you finish your residency. Okay? So that is the nitty-gritty difference. So that's why if you're very strong in step 2 CK, you don't really have to worry much about the step 3 as such. The passing score is 196, and passing rate, like you see, the highest of them all is step 3, and the lowest of them all is the 73% in step 1. The reason is very easy. Step 1, I do not know which graduation year you would be or you already are. Most of the international medical graduates, they intend to take or they normally take the step 1 exam during their final years or internships or post-medical school. So obviously when you have to take the step 1 exam, they have to go back centuries, if not for years, right? So therefore there are a lot of memory lapses that they have to go back and they forget everything and then they have to use to adapt to the USMLE format of exams. So hence, I normally recommend all my students that they would try to take the step 1 while they are fresh, when they finish their basic sciences, when they're in their honeymoon years. I think it's the 3rd year or the 2nd year in India, right? So while you're having a little bit of leeway time, you should take the step 1 exam for the biggest benefit so that you don't have to worry and struggle after you finish your clinical years. All right, that being said, let's move on to the next one, application process. Now, I've already walked you through the step 1, step 2 CK, step 2 CS. Now, I'm not going to go into detail now, so I'm going to walk you. It's very simple. I know most of you guys must be thinking, I was like, oh my God, it's so complicated. I don't understand. I am going crazy as such. I'm studying USMLE. These questions are really fantabulous. And on top of that, I don't understand the process. It's very simple. Take a deep breath. Let it go. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. You take the step 1 exam, finish your CK, finish your step 2 CS. Once you finish these and complete it, what will happen? You will be certified by the EcfmG. Once you get certified, this is the timeline that you need to understand. I know that most of you guys have smartphones. If you don't have smartphones, you know how to do the screenshot. Just get ready. Not yet right now, otherwise you'll have a lot of pictures there which is incomplete. So once you finish 1, 2 CK and CS, certified, after certification, this is how your residency timeline looks like. In the month of June of any calendar year that you finished all these exams, you will start getting the ERAS token. You can get the ERAS token from EcfmG.org. We'll talk about that in the coming slides. Once you get hold of the token, then from the month of July up until 14th of September, then you can upload your documents in the ERAS portal or the ERAS website. Now, when I say documentations, we'll talk about it in the next slide when I explain EcfmG, ERAS, and NRMP. Now, you have July, August, and middle of September. So literally about, 2 or 2.5 months to take care of all the business. Then once it starts September 15th, then you will send all the applications to the programs that you chose. Okay? Now, once you send the applications to all the programs, then from October to January, depending upon your caliber, your scores, your letters of recommendations, and all the requirement prereqs, then you will start receiving residency interviews. Now you ace the scores, you have best of letters of recommendations, you have all the ducks in a row. Now what happens next is that you go for the interviews. At the interviews, you also nail them, right? And then finally, after your interviews end in January, you will receive a good news email in the middle of March that says, congratulations, Dr. Patel, Dr. Reddy, Dr. Rao, that you matched in so-and-so program. And that is the good news that you will want to wait for. If you get that, from the month of March till June, you can just go back to your country, you can meet your families and friends, go to Paris, go to Rome, have fun, because you will not have fun after June or July because your residency starts. And trust me, just like back home in India, residency year 1 is going to be very, very critical, very, very busy. And obviously for an IMG, you'll be entering into a new domain, so it's going to be a little bit of complex. So if you get the good news in the month of March, all the way to June, just do whatever you have not been able to do after your medical school. Just a piece of advice. You can only breathe a sigh of relief when you finish your residency year 1. All right, don't take the pictures yet. Now, we talked about step 1 CK and step 2 CS certification. Now the question is, do I need to take the step 3? Because somebody told me there is a step 3, right? So the question answer is yes and no. Step 3 is not mandatory to get into residency. Now let's say that I'm talking you, just point your finger towards yourself. It's like, yeah, me. So you scored 269 in step 1, 280s in step 2 CK. You passed the OATs or CS, and then you got certified. You got all those things done. You got plenty of interviews. Then you got matched. If you don't have step 3 in your pocket, you can get a J1 visa. Now you can do residency only under J1 visa and H1B visa. Now for those who are currently holding green cards or US citizens, you don't have to worry about this part. But for those who does not have any green cards or US citizenship, this is partly important. Now, like I said, step 3 is not mandatory for you to get into residency, because without step 3, you can get a J1 visa if you're a spectacular candidate. On the other side, if you want the H-1B visa, then step 3 is a must requirement for you to get into residency. I'm not going to go into details of why and how and all those things because that is going to be a different event that we can talk about, and you can reach out to me later on if you are in that stage. But don't ask me this question without even you trying to study for step 1. It's like, Dr. Tenzin, so what if I get this and what if I get? Because what I'm going to ask you is, have you taken your step 1 yet? If the answer is no, then I'll say I love you, but take your steps, get certified, and then we'll talk about it when the time is right. Okay? The reason is I'm not trying to be rude and mean. The reason is I've been through your stages. I've been there, done that, and I've seen almost all my students do that. So when you are so overwhelmed with all these unnecessary things for now, I'm not saying that it's unnecessary for later, you should compartmentalize of what you need to eat. It's just like diabetic diets. Try to understand the whole schema of things like I described. It's like, okay, this is the big picture. But if you are living in the life of what if I get J1, how do I get H1? That is going to waste your gray cells and your memory power. If you have a brain of 10 GB, without even studying for step 1, or even while you have started to study for step 1, you're thinking about those things, you are just occupying about 5 or 6 GBs, which you could have invested in a proper investment for step 1 knowledge or step 2 CKIT exams performance. All right? Good. Now you can take a snapshot because there's nothing else that I'm going to add on this slide. Claro. Good. Now let's talk about the navigation application process. Now I told you that EcfmG, ERAS, and RMP. These are the 3 big names that you must understand. I'm not saying memorize, but try to understand. I'm just giving you an overview. EcfmG stands for Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. Now let's understand what do they do. Now, EcfmG is basically a third party only for IMGs. That's why it's called, in the olden days, we used to be called FMGs, Foreign Medical Graduates. But recently, over a decade or so, they changed the nomenclature from FMG to IMG because foreign sounded like alien. So therefore, they kind of polished it a little bit and said International Medical Graduates. So anyhow, the short of it is EcfmG is a third party which is responsible for all the international medical graduates. Let us say Dr. Patel from India says that he is a graduate from Vidyapeeth in India. Well, FMG doesn't believe you. The American AAMC doesn't believe you. So what they do is, I don't know, you could be lying, I don't trust you. So why don't you register with EcfmG and they are going to verify your medical degree. They're going to say like, hello, Dr. Rao, this student is claiming that he's from your university, so please verify all the details. And then the college gets back to EcfmG and then say like, yes, whatever he said, it's true, nothing is tainted. So let's give the green signal. EcfmG then gets back to you by saying, all right, Dr. Patel, you're good to go, you're good to go, you're good to go for all the steps. Then at the end, after you finish the 1, step 2 CK, step 2 CS, you will be receiving the completion certificate or EcfmG certification from this organization. So that is EcfmG. Moving on to ERAS, Electronic Residency Application Services. Now, we walked through earlier that after you finish the steps, you apply. So this is the application portal that I was talking about, right? And when we talked about upload the documents in the portal, these are the documents they're talking about. So after you finish your steps, you go into this portal and get a token, right? And then put in your USMLE scores, personal statements, letters of recommendations, photographs, CVs, publications, whatever have you that you need to put it through the ERAS application services. Now, NRMP on the other side is National Residency Matching Program. Well, out of these 3, it is important to know what it does, but you have control in what you do and how much you score in EcfmG. You also have control under ERAS how good a personal statement, how good of a CV, how good of letters of recommendation you can get, and which programs to choose, which programs are great for you, but could be not feasible for you. But now let's say through ERAS you applied for 200 programs, and then you wait for the interviews. Then after the interviews, then it leads on to the NRMP, which you don't have any control except for submitting your rank order list. All right? So it's basically the last scenario of the system which allows you to know that, all right, Dr. Patel, you have applied for 200 applications. Out of 200 applications, based upon your credentials, you only got 25 residency interviews. Out of those residency interviews that you attended, you matched in so and so. This NRMP has nothing, but they just go and sort out which of the 25 interviews that you went to matched with you. So NRMP is just a computer algorithm that you don't have any control. So don't think too much about how do they do that, because even if I tell you how to do that, even though I don't know, but let's say I know, even if I tell you and describe you what it does, it really does not make any or change anything in you because we don't have any control. It's the back end of it. All right? Good. Now this is the second step, that you can take a snapshot of it so that it pictures that. All right? Good. Now, let's talk about the changes. Obviously, some of you guys might be aware of it. Some of you guys might not be aware of it. So either case, let's take a common ground and start walking through it. Going forward, there was a proposal recently that step 1 is going to be moving from digits of triple digits to pass and fail. Right? There are a lot of discussions still going on. But they also had a disclaimer which said it's not happening. They said may not be happening. It's not happening before January 2022. So the reason why I put in the bracket is that is the key word. It may happen after January 2022. It may not happen, or January might be extended to June or July or end of the 22. So you really have to look at the context in terms of the language that they use, rather than it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Okay? But irrespective of this new change that they announced, I still want you, I tell my students, Dr. Tenzin, should I take the exam later on when it's pass and fail? Or should I take it now? I would say take it now, because you will get more advantage taking the exam now than later on when it's pass and fail, because at least during that time, for at least, let's say hypothetically, 22, they started implementing it from January. At least it's going to take them a couple of years to bring it to a brim or a common ground or a common level where all the candidates will be evaluated on and fail. Otherwise, they will have to wait and see in a big kind of a mixed pool of whether they are falling under the category of pass and fail, or are they in the 3-digit ones? It's going to be murky. So point is, instead of waiting for change to happen, take the exam should you feel you're ready. It's not like I'm telling you to go and jump, right? Just if you think that you're getting ready, don't even think about it. Take the exams. The next change is exam attempts. When we talk about attempts, we're talking about failed attempts. When we talk about attempts, currently right now, they have allowed not you, anyone other than people who are attending this seminar, to fail 6 times, right? They say like that's too much, because if somebody is failing 6 times, then it's a moron. That's like unbeatable, right? So they reduced it to 4. Third exam is you cannot take the CS without passing step 1. All right? Now these are the 3 main changes that they did. The second and the third changes, I don't think it's going to be much effect, because forget about 4. I don't want any one of you to even fail a single time. Trust me, if you fail even 1 time, your resume, your credentials, your credibilities is going to be down the drain to a great degree. So please do not take the exam just like, oh, let me see how it is. Or don't go with overconfidence, right? Take the exam when you really know that you're going to ace the exams, or in the Indian language, crack the exams, right? So do not take it. So exam failed attempts doesn't even arise in my dictionary. Step 2 CS, you cannot take it before step 1. That doesn't really make any difference because obviously that's fine. That's not a biggie. Now, the fourth one that I wrote is currently the EcfmG and the AMA has suspended step 2 CS for the coming year or so for now. And we still are undecided what is going to happen. There's a discussion that they might just cancel it overall in the coming years. And then currently they have replaced the CS with OET, right? Occupational English Test. So this is the situation right now in terms of the changes. Now let us see how coronavirus had impacted the medical world apart from all the other parts of the world, right? So let's see how coronavirus has impacted the medical students, medical schools, medical residencies, medical fellowships, etc., etc. With coronavirus, one thing has definitely taught us, the new normal. That's the fashion of buzzword that everybody uses. Like, well, that's the new normal now. So what is the new normal? It's nothing but continuously changing to the new normals. Because today's normal could be tomorrow's old, right? So obviously there will be new normals about things that one has to get adapted constantly. You can look at the coin from both the sides. One is the good side and the positive side, optimism. The other one is the negativism and the pessimism, right? So always look in the broader aspect of positive things because there's no use of thinking pessimistic about what bad a life that you're living right now. Be happy that at least you're safe and healthy and alive. All right, now let's talk about the impact of COVID on medical residency. Now, obviously, because of this pandemic, in the United States and globally too, there are disruptions of electives and clerkship rotations. Now, students are not allowed to come to the centers. The students are not allowed to come to the hospitals or clinics for their rotations. So literally, I wouldn't say 100%, I would say at least in the United States, the rotations and electives have gone virtual to at least about 75%. Now what it means is the letters of recommendations that you would be getting generally pre-pandemic would be less meaningful because you don't have actual interaction with the faculties in person, in flesh, right? Or one-on-one or in a group. So that is deterrent. That's why when somebody writes a letter of recommendation in the pre-pandemic era, there are certain screening metrics that they choose. Like, all right, if somebody writes a letter of recommendation, then he has been there, done that with the physician or the surgeon, so that letter of recommendation holds some ground and strength. But now, the traditional screening metrics, they're kind of skewed because they don't have that. The next biggest change that happened was social distancing and travel restrictions. Now, that would mean in the coming situation of 2021 residency, would they be virtual interviews? Question mark. I do not know. Only time will tell because I do not know what changes will happen tomorrow. Remember, the new normals. So I do not really know whether there will be interviews through virtual platforms in the coming months, coming sessions, or coming match. We'll just have to keep our eyes open. Now, if there is a virtual interviews, then what is going to land up happening is the number of applications are going to definitely increase. Why? Because each and every application that you're going to send over to the programs, that's going to cost you rupiah, dinero, dollars, money, right? So each and application that you're going to send is going to cost money. So now, not only while you're spending money or using money or investing money on those applications, you also have to think about traveling for interviews, the hotel and the meal stays. Now, all of a sudden, if I remove those expenses from you and say like, you don't have to travel, you do virtual interviews, then obviously you do have a certain amount of money left as a balance. Now you'll feel like, Now, I don't have to go and travel for my interviews. I saved about $1,000, so I would rather start increasing the application. So that is also one of the things that people are thinking in the admission council. That would overburden the program director's office. Well, continued. They have already adjusted, excuse me, they've already adjusted the application timeline for this particular season, right? They've pushed it from September to October. Now, they're also having discussions about modifications of requirements during the application processes. Like we talked about screening metrics, there is a discussion that is going on whether to consider students or applicants with step 1 and then without step 2 CK scores. I'm not saying this is happening, I'm just telling you, being a messenger of what is going around in discussions. And they're also asking what specific letters of recommendations that they would want. They're also discussing, all right, before we screen them and give them interviews, why don't we select based upon the paper formats or the online applications that you guys send, and then we'll pre-select and then let them go to do a rotation audition. Meaning, I have only 10 spots in surgery. I have about 1,500, let's say 2,000 applicants. I'm definitely not going to call all the 2,000 candidates to come for interviews because I'm not going to waste my time. So what happens in the earlier world is that I have the screening processes. Now currently the screening process seems to have been broken a little bit, but somehow I'm going to use that. Out of 2,000 people, I may call maybe about 50 people for interviews. But before I do the interviews, I may ask them to do audition rotations. These are discussions. I'm not saying this is going to happen. Just have that really written in your mind in capital letters, just like I have on my screen. Don't say like, oh, Dr. Tenzin said like they're going to have audition rotations, this and that. I'm not saying this. I'm just being the messenger of what discussions are happening so that you would be mentally prepared should it happen. If it doesn't happen, then you already know the game in the olden world. All right. Now with all those changes happening and the factual changes that happen in the field, they are discussing about a holistic approach. Now, if those changes happened, what should we and how should we maneuver our approach? That's the discussion that most of the program directors, chairmen are having. They're talking about paying more emphasis on narrative aspects of applications, right? We'll come to that. They're also talking about paying more importance on CK and Step 3 scores. The reason being, should Step 1 become pass and fail? I'm not saying they have or they will be, but these are the approach discussions that's happening. The number of attempts, years of graduation, personal statements. They are going to be now highlighted should those changes happen. Because in the past, there are different programs, different program directors, different chairmen who has different kind of qualities that they're looking for. So now if the step 1 becomes pass and fail, the failed attempts becomes highlighted, the graduation year becomes highlighted, and this is one of the reasons that I like to pause here. When I was asking my students, that includes you, to take the step 1 exam in the earlier years of your medical school, post your medical basic sciences, years of graduation matter. So let's see you, Nilima, and you, Rao. So Rao took the exam of step 1 when he finished the basic sciences in 3rd year or 4th year, whichever year that is conducive for your basic science graduation, right? And then after you finished your clinical years, during the internship, you took your step 2 CS and step 2 CK. Literally speaking, within about 4, 5, 6 months of completing letters of recommendations, clinical clerkships in the United States, you're good to apply. Your year of graduation is going to be 1 year. Versus Nilima, on the other side, she was like, yeah, I'll take the exam of step 1 after everything is done. So she finished her MBBS, and during the internship, or even after internship, she starts studying for Step 1 CKCS. And on an average, if you do full-time study, the students take at least about 1 to 1.5 years to complete these exams only. Then obviously, by the time Nilima applies, her year of graduation going to be at least 3 years. Because I'm talking about at least 1.5, 2 years of study, but we have to wait for the application season to come up the next year. All right? So that's why I wanted to say that. Now, personal statements. Personal statements is going to be even more personal now, if the changes happen. The MSPEs currently doesn't hold much value, but now, if the changes take shape, they want to make some modifications to it, because currently MSPEs only tell you where do you stand in your university. Are you the A student, B student, C student, D student? That is not so reflective, at least for international medical graduates. Now they want to seek inclusions of modifications, which includes your integrity part, how reliable you are, how initiative you take, how motivated you are to become a specialist that you want to be. And are you in a teamwork? Because definitely remember, when you apply for residency, they look not for a rocket scientist or a nerd. They look for somebody whether you can work with the family of residents that I am going to select. I told you earlier, I have 10 spots in my residency this year. I'm not going to take a rocket scientist just because he scored stellar. But I'm definitely going to make a team or a family of 10 people who are very, very conducive, very, very close, and that they can work together as a team. And definitely professionalism, right? And then on top of that, the new thing is that apart from these things, they also look at adding the leadership experiences. Because I've talked to a lot of chairmen and program directors. They tell me yeah, they are great doctors, but I don't see them in the next gen being leaders in the healthcare. So now they want to groom the leaders while they are already in the med schools. And they want to see that, okay, fine, I'm interviewing Dr. Patel, Dr. Reddy. I think there's something in him because he has done something in school while he was there. He was the leader of carom board, he was the leader of chess, he was the leader of school, he was the leader of student body, whatever. So those things may sound small and petty for some of you guys, but it takes a long way when you go into the CV writing, personal statement writing, that tells you about how much you have done and what kind of inborn characters, kind of activities you have done. Last not the least is going to be definitely research, but again, please try to get your research published, otherwise it's just going to be research. All right, now let's jump on to the next topic, the interesting one. Some of you guys might be like, yeah, that sounds good, but why should I not do my PG in the United States? Why can't I do it in India, right? So I'm not here to bring you here. And like I said, some of you guys are also half-hearted, 50-50. It's like, I don't know whether I should go to the United States or not. Some of you guys are thinking like, okay, let me try NEET PG, and if I don't get it, then I will try USMLE, right? So either ways, let me give you why medical PG in the United States sounds like and is not only sounding like, but is a factual benefit for you. Point number one, you have a higher chances of getting post-graduation in the US. I know some of you guys are like, hell no, right? But that is a fact. And I'll tell you why. I normally visit 2 or 3 times in a year, apart from other parts of the world, meeting with the university deans, the directors, medical students, having seminars, taking classes, sitting with them, helping them with the curriculum, etc., etc. So the last time I was in India was in January, February. And I visited, I know some of you guys might have seen me or met with me and interacted with me. But when I say this, it's like, no, Dr. Denson, it's no way possible. But it is possible. I'll prove it to you. This is United States. This is the ratio, 1:2. For every residency spot, there is competition of 2 people. So if there is only 2 of your friends, one of you is going to get it. It's a 50-50. Versus NEET PG, your ratio jumps up to 1.8 as of last year. It could go up this year as well. but definitely not going to come down. So if there's a residency spot of 1, 8 people has to fight for it. So obviously, this is a fact. I'm not making up. You can look it up. So obviously, you can tell me your chances of getting into post-graduation is higher by a lot of fractions in the United States. And I'll explain it to you graphically down the lane. All right. Now, hypothetically speaking, I am a medical student out of India, freshly graduate. Then I want to join anesthesiology, or let's say plastic surgery. That's my background. So let's say that I want to redo it, turn back the clock. And it's like, I want to join a plastic surgery. And then I'm in India. I graduated in my MBBS and sitting for NEET PG. I cannot say that I want to get into residency in plastic surgery because you cannot choose. It all depends upon your rank, and rank. But in the United States, let's say, okay, hypothetically speaking, so I got a lower rank and then I go for the interview or for the processing, a review. And then they will say, what do you want? And I'll say, like, I need plastic surgery. Then they will say, like, oops, you just missed it. The bus just left, right? But here in the United States, you choose which specialty of post-graduation or residency you want to choose while applying, so that you'll be much more focused in your residency search. Otherwise, right now, the downside of the other parts of the world's selection process is that you may desire to be dermatologist, ophthalmologist, but it's not much very streamlined and focused as to what I will be looking as a program director. Because the only thing that I have is your NEET PG scores, and it's just a 3 hours exam. So just 3 hours of your exam should not determine whether you'll be a capable physician of dermatology, radiology, or any other specialism, right? All right, selection based on scores and other factors. Now, it's not only on scores because we need to bring something on the same platform globally. Not only US medical students, but international students. So scores becomes the first leveler. And then more importantly, here in the United States, as equally as scores, the other factors take into play. It also helps if you have achieved something in a specialty in your school, like I said. Now in NEET PG and getting residency or PG in India, they don't really care whether you were this or that. But in the USMLE process of selection through EcfmG, they will definitely look not only your front of scores, but they will also turn you around and check what you have done since your medical school years. So that's much more an introspective study of a candidate, a whole round student or a candidate. And obviously, last not the least, in terms of choosing your specialty, the programs will not get unserious. They're just like, I don't know what I want, I'll just apply. Because each and every program application costs money. So therefore, they will be focused from get-go itself. Now, obviously, I don't need to talk much about the globally recognized degree after you finish your residency here, because you can obviously go back to India after you finish your residency, after you finish your fellowship, or after you settle down here for a couple of years, and when you grow old, you no longer can take the rush of the United States life, then you can go back to India and practice. And that time, you just have to clear a local Indian test. You can also work nowadays with India opening, China closing. Obviously in Hyderabad in South India, I've seen big hospitals, right? And big campuses, big IT companies, big whatever. Foreign firms coming in. So obviously with the change or shift of the world dynamics, as such, it's a lot, but there will be still more to come in the coming years. So you can definitely work in a US-based hospital research projects that are already prevalent in India. And during that time, if you have an Indian-based doctor, they will get less precedence because you have been traditionally culturalized by the United States while you were doing your residency, fellowship, or with some work experience. You can also look at jobs in the pharmaceutical companies as consultants. Why? Because most of the pharmaceutical companies are not only Indian-based, but they are also US-based and foreign-based. So therefore, when they select any candidate for a work, I'm not talking about clinical works as such, but I'm talking about enculturization. They also look at that while they interview you, right? So that becomes an important aspect of how important is globally recognized degree. It's not a degree just on a paper, but just about where you come from, how do you interact with people, how do you think, and how your work ethics are. So these are the things that they're looking behind rather than just talking about, tell me about yourself and show me what you've done, but they're listening to you. And obviously, if you have graduated from the United States, when you work outside, you normally will be getting higher pay. I can give you an example of Saudi, UAE, right? And Jordan, Abu Dhabi, and all those Mediterranean countries. If you go there to work after you finish your residence, they normally would give you 1.5 more times. You can ask your seniors about it. They will give you higher salaries, primarily only because you finished your graduation from the United States. You can go directly from India, but you will get lesser paid. For me, if we were twin brothers, right? We did the same thing, we did the same graduation, we did the same post-graduation. You come from India, I come from the United States. We're in the same rank, I'll get higher paid than you. That's what I meant. All right, let's jump on to the reason 4 or 5, I don't remember now. Tuition stipends during PG. In India, when you get into residency, you have to pay a certain rupees per month or per year, right? You have to pay tuitions. And that is really kind of, did not really make sense to me. Because first of all, you're offering your 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 to work. And then they say like, okay, we'll use you, but we need to charge you for using you, right? So it doesn't make sense. But anyways, that's your part of the world, and that certain part of the world, everything is different. But in the United States, after you get selected for residency, you don't have to pay a penny because you're already providing your health and services. Now, in India, the stipend, if I'm not mistaken, is averaging 30 to 40,000 a month. Now, let's say that you're getting 30,000 or 40,000 a month, and you minus the tuition fees. Where does it leave you? Right? And I'm not talking about making money right now, it's going to come. I'm just talking about during the 3 to 5 years of your residency that you will be grilled, literally speaking. You're not left with much. Versus in the US, from day 1 of your residency, you will start earning about this much a month. And I said stipend, I did not say salary. Why? Because residency and fellowships are not considered work. They are considered training. So while you're under training, it's called stipend or pocket money. Okay. Now, obviously, I need to not spend much time on here. It's like, all right, so which is better? You choose, obviously. Now let's go to the money part, rupaya part, paisa part, dinero part. Which is higher? These are the breakdowns of 2019. 2019 survey that was conducted, and this is the total amount that you would be making day 1 after you finish your specialties or subspecialties. Now I know most of you guys are like, oh my god, let me take out my calculator. You must be calculating it. That's okay. Let me break it down easy for you because I did the math for you. Roughly, maybe a few dollars up and down, a few rupees up and down, a few thousands. But let's say majority of the internal medicine students from India, how much do you make? Do you make this much a year, the day 1 that you finish your medical residency? I doubt so. How about surgeons? How many people wants to become a surgeon? I know, especially in India, apart from other parts of the world, there is this ghostly thing that every Indian wants to become a surgeon. That's why I was thinking, like, oh my god, if all the Indians take the surgery residencies, then who is going to get into surgery from other parts of the world? But it's good. It's good to be having high aims. But at the same time, if you want to get into high aims, then you have to have high moral grounds and high strength and determination and high drive of hard work. Let us say that you finished your PG general surgery day 1. This is how much you're going to make. Do you make that in India? Or will you make that in India? I'm not talking about after working for a couple of years, your uncle or aunt makes more than that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you having the diploma PG diploma, PG residency degree, the next day you sign a contract with job hunters and they'll pay this. Now, in my scheme of things, if you are a plastic surgeon, then you would be making this at least the first day of your contract. All right, so obviously I'm not going to dwell upon how to make it better. But again, ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, I'm not here to show you the greed of the money of how much you will make, because generally speaking, the money will come. The hard work is the first, right? Whether you like it or not, if you work hard, you become a plastic surgeon, general surgeon, or just an internist, whether you like the money or not, it's going to come because it's a side effect, but it's a very good side effect. Even if you don't want it, you can give it to your parents, or you can even give it to me. I'll save it for you. Next time when you want it, I'll give it to you. Wink, wink. All right. So obviously, this is the schema of things in terms of salary and better lifestyle, of course. So that's why these are the reasons in snapshot why medical PG, in my opinion, it could be totally a different thing, because once it was about 3 years ago, it was either in Pune or Bangalore, one of these states. When I was talking about, one of the students asked me, like, why not this, why not in PG and India? Then I explained rough, sketch of what I was talking right now. And it's like, but sir, it's really bad, because if I go to other country, then my country needs me. And listen, I'm not telling you you should come. I'm not tying your hands, right? I'm not forcing you into a back of a Jeep and then pushing you into a tractor trailer or a train or a plane to do your PG here. I'm just giving you the option, just to know that it's up to you to decide. All right? Good. All right, let's move on to the next topic. That is going to be 20 match applicants. Now, the 2020 match applicants, as you can see here, this is the breakdown. Now, earlier when I was talking to you and I said I can prove it to you, about how easy it is for Indian students to get into, how easy is it to get residency in the US as compared to India. Now, let's look at this. There's 40,000 approximately applicants for 37,000 positions. Now, let's switch gears. Close your eyes and ask yourself, how many applicants are there in a NEET PG right now, or the last year? And how many positions are available? If I'm not mistaken, there are around 40,000 positions in NEET PG, including the diplomas, DNBs, and all. Now, some of you guys must be thinking that, how does he know everything about India? Because I am EcfmG, and I traveled to India a lot of times. I've met your brothers, your seniors, and maybe you too at one point of time during my visit. Now, there are 40,000 positions available, but the last check that I did on number of applicants, the new applicants as well as the early applicants who did not get into residency, they were literally about 80,000, nearly 80,000. So you can see the difference of ratios, like lopsided. All right, so I just rest my case. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, this is the pie chart, which just gives you a breakdown of who is taking part in the residencies. So obviously, almost half of it obviously belongs to the US medical students, and the remaining bigger part of the pie belongs to IMG. If you can see my mouse move, US citizens IMG, that is 5,000, and non-US citizen IMGs, 7,000. So 7 plus 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, nearly about 13,000 students have applied from IMGs. The purple one that here is the DO, meaning Doctors of Osteopathy, right? And the other ones are going to be the others. But again, you see the breakdown of how much competition and how much applicants there are from each cadre, a batch of pools of students or applicants. Now let's break it down into number of applicants. US medical seniors means US medical students, US IMGs and non-US IMGs, meaning US IMGs basically is international medical graduates, meaning that you studied outside the United States. Now, US IMG means that you are either a green card holder or a citizenship holder of the United States, but you went outside US to study for medicine. And non-US IMG is like, I am Indian, I hold an Indian passport, I don't have anything, and I studied in India, Russia, Poland, Philippines, Malaysia, or wherever in the Caribbean, right? So that is non-US IMGs. So you can see the breakdown of active applicants, number of students who matched, and the match percentage. Now this is also a snapshot that you can look at that we watched earlier. In 2020, participants, US citizens were 5,200, and then non-US IMGs, they were around 7,000. Now let's look at this in the history of 2019. The first year residency position offered was 32,000. Now in the last match, that went up by 2,000, nearly 2,100 positions increased. That also means IMG participation also got increased by 125. Now when you see the number of candidates increase, that's only 125 more candidates, but the number of positions that increased was nearly 2,100. So that's a good difference there. So that's the good news. Now let's go back to the normal ones. In 2019 match, 58.8% of international medical match rate. But in 2020, it's 61.1 in terms of number of candidates who got more than the last year. 351 more candidates from the IMG pool got into residency. All right? Graphically, this is what I say. All the way from 2010 to 2020 this year match, it has phenomenally grown up. There is no looking back. When I was doing my studies for USMLE, it used to be around 38, 39s, right? So obviously, 36, 39, and then all my students. But when you look at this, it has changed or taken a phenomenal change and an upward swing. And currently it's 61%. And definitely next year it's going to go up. I can see that happening. Now let's go by specialties. Now these are the number of programs offered, number of applicants generally, and number of IMGs in the specialties. Now I know you guys are like, where's surgery, right? I will tell you the most favorite IMG friendly residencies are generally internal medicine, family medicine, psychiatry, and neurology. Generally, right? Then when I asked, like, what about surgery? It's like, sir, I want to become a surgeon, but I heard that US people don't like Indians. That is generally what I hear. The answer is not true. But before I answer that question, I will say why internal medicine, family medicine is more IMG friendlier or looks, because look at this number of positions offered. They have the highest number of positions that is available, right? So therefore, the number of IMGs getting sucked into those programs are also going to be equivalently high. On the other side, when you guys ask me, it's like, do they hate Indians? I'll say, like, not really Indians, but the number of positions available for their domestic students are, kind of drastically lower. So if they have less capacity or bandwidth to take their own students, then they will give the secondary preference to the IMGs. But even then, look at the brighter side of it. 27.4% of IMGs in surgery. So don't ever get dejected and think like, oh my God, I'm not going to get into surgery. So that's why I want to become a surgeon, but let me become a kids doctor or a neurologist or something else. Let me go into psychiatry. I don't like the subject, but let me take it. Don't ever do that, right? Keep a positive outlook. Like I said, attitude is the utmost thing that is really important in a student's life. And when I say student, I'm not talking about you studying MBBS. I'm talking about student who is going to study. Being a doctor, you will study throughout your life. There's no ending to that, and you know that best. All right. I know it's not easy for you to get into residency, but before you think and dream about getting a residency in surgery or this or that, I would definitely urge each and every one of you listening, watching, have met with me to take the thing one step at a time. Any success stories begins with a single step, and you will never finish if you don't start. I know some of you guys are like, okay, it's a free webinar. Let me listen what he has to say. And then you will listen at the end of it. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I need to do this. And then you'll go back to your same old routine. It's like, yeah, maybe next time or maybe next year. If you're really thinking of doing it, you need to sit down and think with clear head. Those of you who have not yet started. Am I interested to go to the United States or not? Now, what are the pros and cons of going there versus staying here? Well, I can do my PG here and get it done. Well, I can go to the United States. I've given you the disadvantages of everything. So sit down and think about clearly what you want in life. Not only right now, but down in the lane, when you get married, when you have kids, when you have grandkids, your lifestyle. The next morning when you wake up, when you're at 40, 50, do you think you will love doing what you are, or you'll be waking up like, oh my God, I have to go to the hospital, right? Those kind of things needs to be decided first. And then you have to take the step. You cannot procrastinate. I have seen a lot of students in the outside world, because they don't have to take USMLE. It's up to them whether they can or not. So make that decision faster. And even for those of you who are currently intending to, and who might be having brothers and sisters in year 1 of your medical school, I would still suggest you to start studying for USMLE right now, but not for USMLE, but indirectly you will start studying for USMLE. Get in touch, get the materials for USMLE, and while you are studying for anatomy, open up anatomy book after you finish your medical school classes and come and study for anatomy in the evening. I'm not asking you to study Quran in the morning and Gita in the evening, right? Because they are totally different. I'm not asking you to study Greek in the morning and philosophy or psychiatry in the evening. I'm just saying you studied anatomy, brachial plexus in the morning. Your Professor Singh came and taught you that. Now in the evening, you're going to go open and not listen to Dr. Singh, but you're going to listen and watch a book written by Dr. David or Dr. Christian. Same thing, brachial plexus in the morning, brachial plexus in the evening. Now, when you do that on a regular basis, after each and every day of your school curriculum or class curriculum, then what will happen is that you will become a stronger candidate not only for your MBBS exams, but also by the end of your basic science subjects are over, you have already gone through one good cycle of review for USMLE. Meaning, you don't have to spend months and months on USMLE preparations, because by virtue of you studying for your basic science through Kaplan Resources, you have killed 2 birds. The first bird was your MBBS, and you became a smarter student because you had the bigger and a wider outlook towards the clinicality of the subjects rather than just the mugging system. And then, obviously, you are getting ready for your future game. And then the second main point that I wanted to say was, while you're studying for USMLE, while you're studying for basic sciences, when I said and advised you and recommended you to Kaplan Resources by Kaplan Books, Kaplan Videos, to understand, if you do that, you've already conquered half the battle for NEET PG as well. And trust me when I say this, NEET PG is just one word answer. It's purely memorization. I'm not going to downplay the importance of it and how tough and easy it is, but trust me, and for those people who have tackled the USMLE questions, you know what I'm talking about. It is really tricky. It is the hardest exam in the world. And I'm not saying it just because I want to say it. It is, right? Once you master the arts of USMLE exam step 1 or step 2, going down to study for the NEET PG becomes much more easier. I don't want you to make the mistake that a few of your seniors or many of your seniors make. They study for NEET first, then they don't get into it, and that's why they say like, okay, I did not get into PG, so let me study for USMLE. That's similar to you saying, I could not climb a small hill in my village. That's fine, let me try to climb Mount Everest. It's not going to happen. The point is, what I'm trying to say is that USMLE exam is like Mount Everest. Try to climb. Definitely, if you put your heart and soul in it, you'll succeed. Even if you don't succeed, you will be able to reach at least the last base of Mount Everest. Now, you come down, and then somebody asks you to climb the smaller hill in the village. That will be a joke for you, right? That will be an easy peasy thing. So that's the thing. Now, obviously, going into this journey of USMLE, getting into residency is not as easy as we think about, right? For that reason, we are there from Kaplan to hold your hand from day one of your interaction with us through all the journey that you have to be processed with, starting from your step one materials, step one coachings, classes, online, on-demand videos, and then obviously all the way through CK, CS, step 3, and also through processing your applications, helping you with EcfmG registration, getting you into clinical rotations, getting help into letters of recommendations, and all the 9 yards from A to Z that you look for. It is not like some other coaching classes or companies that'll just say like, okay, learn, all right, best of luck. How I do that? I don't know, that's up to you. That's not a part of the curriculum. So obviously we have been in this educational business mainly for USMLE as the pioneers for more than 40 years. And I'm not going to sing glories about the place that I work because we do have the selection of the best faculties and they are paid very handsomely. And very handsomely means, I mean it, very handsomely, because they are the creme de la creme of all the faculties and those that are currently working in the universities and top-notch hospitals teaching and dealing with residents, fellows, and attendings. So obviously our medical education, they are being up-to-dated by our strong curriculum team. We have recently moved a part of our division in Bangalore also for content development. So obviously these things are going bigger and better. So all the support of medical education curriculums, the books, the Q banks, the videos, they are constantly being updated and upgraded to the changes, according to the changes of the exams. It's not like, we just put it there and that's it. And we have 24/7 support, flexible study options that you can talk to your agents, right? So basically, we have been there, done that. We are doctors and for doctors. And once you just shake hand with the Kaplan courses, then you will be having your medical advisors, your personal medical advisors, your group medical advisors, right? And they're the ones who's going to be your first face of contact from day one all the way to the day that you get into residency. So obviously it's not like I said, you got it, all right, best of luck, get lost. It's not like that. So it's going to be a hand-holding process from beginning. Why? Because we know that you are totally brand new to these kind of processes and we'll be there all the way through. All right, and for those students who are not decided yet, they might want to have more information about how the QBank looks. So click or take the picture and then go on this link, captest.com/study/USMLE. And then you might be able to play around with getting free event informations or free practice questions or questions of the day, etc., etc. You can just toy around with that. That being said, I would like to take a pause and thank you for all your time. I know you've taken time especially to see me and hear me. You cannot see me, but you can hear me. But definitely next time when the air restrictions in India goes away, you will definitely be able to see me cruising all across your country and in your area and in your university as well. This is my email. Should you have any questions, please feel free to send any email my way and I'll be able to help you through. Or if I don't have the answer, I will definitely have taken the right choice of directing to the right contact person. All right, stay home, stay safe. Before I do that, I don't want you guys to go. I will take questions. Now is going to be the Q&A session. Before we do that, while you're typing in the questions in the chat box, this is LogicQuest, who is our partner, one of our partners in India, whose hotline numbers, email, contact information are given here. You can take a snapshot of it. And you can also follow them on the social media platform. All right. So let's go to the question. One student asks, when will you start talking about corona effect in detail? Very, very valid question. But like I said, there are discussions happening. I do not know whether the supermarket that is open today will be open tomorrow or not. So forget about residency changes in actuality. You understand? So that's the dilemma. Asks, when will you start talking about corona? I mean, right now it's all hypothetical. My job is to let you know what discussions they are happening rather than tell you what will happen, because obviously everything is going to take time. And we at Kaplan will definitely keep you updated as to what changes will happen as and when time comes. Is Kaplan carrying out any personalized sessions to access candidates prep? I remember they held such session before my step 1. I really do not know what you meant by personalized session. If you are talking about one-on-one student advising, then yes, there still is. So there's a book an appointment in the website captest.com that you can book an appointment. But whoever asked this question, did you take the step 1 course from us? Next question from Dr. Khadja Batul. I'm applying for match this year. What are the chances? That is a favorite question. The chances this year is even more brighter than the last 40 years, I would say so. Why? Because a lot of people are in a stuck right now. So definitely, this is the time where the United States realized, not only US, also in India, everywhere, they realized that they need doctors. They need healthcare staffs. So obviously, this is the perfect time, but try to polish your CV and resume. Amal Pathak is opting for ophthalmology, needs something other than USMLE scores and other steps you mentioned in the steps in the video. Yes, definitely. Not only for ophthalmology, but any residency for your matter, you need something. Something means letters of recommendation, your experiences, your CV, your letter, the research and publication, etc., etc. All right, who's next? Sakina Ahmed. I'm in 3rd year. Should I take Kaplan now? Like I said, I recommend you to take the step preparation from day 1 of your medical school. Sakina, you're slightly late by 2 years, but still, you don't want to be waiting till the internship is over. So you are late, but better late than never. So start right now, that's my recommendation, and then it's definitely going to help you both in your basic science medical school result as well as and in preparation for your USMLE. Arjit Menon, please suggest some points for improvement of my CV. I plan to apply for internal medicine or peds. How important is CV for these branches? Arjit, CV is important for all the specialties, not only for baby medicine, not only for family, not only for adult medicine, but for all the kinds of medicines. Deepak Pazam Malai. Is it necessary to give exams like IELTS and TOEFL? If you were asking this question about 15 years ago, then the answer is yes, you have to take TOEFL. But then after that, during that time, they removed TOEFL and then they changed to CS, step to CS. So TOEFL was not required, they canceled TOEFL and then they make it into step to CS. But right now, currently, because of COVID, because of social distancing, they even have suspension on CS and they have replaced it with OET, English test. But whether that will remain in the consecutive years to come or not, that remains to be seen. But currently, TOEFL, IELTS, no. Avinash Jay Bhaye. How many total of Indian students getting selected out of all the IMGs, and what is the proportion of Indian students applying and getting selected? Wow, Avinash, you're asking me a question just like people ask Modi. I do not have, because I don't deal with only Indian students. I deal with international students around the globe. So I do not really know the nitty gritty details of it. But one thing that I can definitely tell you is out of 100%, out of percentage, right? Out of 100% of all the IMGs that have been selected, the Indian students are number one. They stand around 65 to 70% of all the 100%. That's what I can say. Graduated 2019, is it too late? Mr. Doctor. Wow, Mr. Doctor, that's a great name. But I hope that your email is not mr.doctor@gmail.com or something like that, because that's not professional. Right? So this is Mr. Doctor, but try to make some professional emails also in your EcfmG. But to your answer, is it too late? It is not too late. It's never too late. Ultimately, yes, years of graduation matter, but the scores, and all the other things does come under the same plate. So just 2019, you're just a kid. You just graduated yesterday. When we talk about year of graduation being late, we're talking about 3+ years. Just about, in some of the programs, they even consider 5 years to be okay. Earning AMA Cat 1 credit during my UG days beneficial for my CV. What is that? Shubham. I do not know. Earning AMARPA. I'm a pro. Cat 1. But whatever you did during your undergrad days is definitely going to reflect. If you especially have been credited, in here we call it CME credits, right? But maybe in India it's called Cat 1, Category 1. I do not know. It sounded like a storm or hurricane to me right now. I'm a Category 1 storm coming in. Yes, it is going to help you. Shubham. Chandan Kumar Chowdhury, roll number 76, after getting Whoa, okay. That sounded like I'm in a prison or an army. Alright, Chandan. Salute. After getting residency, what we cost of living in the United States? Do we need to take rented house, or do we have hostels, or what about other expenses? Wait a minute. After getting residency. So after getting residency in the United States, then the cost of living, okay, I can answer this. After getting residency, it's up to you whether you want to buy a house or rent a house, because that's not our problem, right? That's your problem, because that's when you finish your residency. Number 2, hostels. It's up to you whether you want to stay in a hostel, rented house, a motel or hotel, or buy a house or rent a house. Other expenses, obviously it depends how much you eat, where do you want to eat, just like in India, same thing. Now the cost of living in the United States changes from state to state, and also who you are and how do you want to live and where do you want to live. Okay? So it's not really that. But I think, Chandan, you're getting a little bit confused in terms of after getting residency. I think you were wanting to ask during residency, right? So during the residency, you can apply. Generally, people stay outside, out of campus, because year 1, generally, they don't have much availabilities, just like in med schools, right? In India, you have the hostels, but not everybody gets hostel in the first year because there's no vacancies, there's no spots. So the same thing. And if you get on campus, then you have subsidized paying accommodations. Kavya Shri. Is research very important thing needed to be matched? If yes, how many papers should be published before applying? Kavya Shri, good question. Research is very important, but more than important, just make sure that you just not touch the research, but make it published as well. Because research by itself, if you say I did it without any proof, just becomes, you said it. Yeah, I'll put it in 1 year and take it from the outside. So number of papers, obviously more the better, so long it's published. But make sure that you're doing research on specialty that is related to your specialty of residency. Now don't tell me that you did a research on pediatrics and then you want to apply for surgery. That's going to be like, are you crazy? What are you trying to do? You're lost or you're out of your mind. Medisit, will a virtual research elective in 3rd year significantly help my application? Well, at this current situation, if you were doing that, then yes. But in a normal post or pre-pandemic era, that will be less significant, if that answers your question. But currently, yes. Sangeeta Kapoor, practically feasible idea to join for USMLE after 10-15 years of job in India after doing MD clinical chemistry. Dr. Sangeeta, it is a good question. I do have people who have been in your similar shoes. I have students who just graduated yesterday and taking the plunge into residency. I have students like you who have been there, done that, climbed Mount Everest, and sitting there on top, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so sick and tired of staying in India now. I want to go to the United States. A, because my husband is moving there. B, my wife is moving there. Or C, my family is moving there. Or whatever reasons you have under the sky. But yes, is it too late? No. Because the earlier thing, like I said, the ultimate truth is whether you graduated today, yesterday, or tomorrow, everybody has to take the steps, irrespective of what you are, where you are. So when they look at it, yes, you'll be considered a year of graduation as an old graduate, but the next question, if they think like you are a graduate of 10, 15 years, then it's like, is she, she looks too old, or he looks too old on paper, but got great scores. So let me see who she is. And turn the next page, you will see like, oh, I've been there MBBS, I've done my MD, I've done my PhD, and this and this and this. So long you don't stay, I did my MBBS, and then start working as a general doctor. That becomes really old with wrinkles, and then with a crouching stick, walking stick. But if you have been climbing up continuously, Dr. Kapoor, then you are relatively young. But again, you need to ace the boards with high scores to compete with the young kids. Jessica, when should one start studying the first aid and Kaplan resources if I'm in first year? First aid, I love it. I'm not biased against it because remember always, when I'm talking to you right now about Kaplan, don't think that I'm talking about Kaplan because I work for Kaplan. Always remember this, I say about Kaplan because I've used it. I've used all the resources that you will currently use or you are currently using it, but I'm talking to you as a doctor. I'm talking to you as a colleague. I'm talking to you as a mentor, right? Not as a Kaplan staff. I'm coming to you as a faculty right now. A lot of people make this mistake, just like, kind of Jessica asked. Very valid point, and thank you for reminding that. Because first aid, UWorld, NBMEs, they are great resources that I will not deny, to be honest. I use it, people use it, they're great. But the successful student is not the one who has all the resources. But a successful student is the one who knows how to use the resources in a proper priority basis. So obviously, guys, I have my hands folded as a friend, as a brother, as a mentor, as a colleague. Please start thinking about that. Just don't listen to your senior who took the exam before, or even your relative who has done their residencies. Yeah, I do this because that's when they did at one point of time. That time was different. That was Jurassic Park era, all right? Now it's changed. The proven method is start laying down your ground foundation with Kaplan materials, and when you're in school, just like Jessica, utilize the Kaplan materials just like an additional or supplementary materials for your basic science subjects. And by doing so, your mind will be a little bit eased off because you'll not be pressured by thinking like, oh, am I studying for USMLE? I'm studying for both. I'm going crazy. Just think like, I'm studying for anatomy. I'm studying for this, I'm studying for that, rather than it's like, I'm studying for USMLE and MBBS. It sucks. All right, good question. Once you finish the full review of Kaplan resources down the lane, along with your medical curriculum, you would realize that you've finished one round review. After you think that you have done with the reviews of Kaplan resources and Kaplan QBank, then move your shift towards the first aid, right? And then add UWorld to that. And then final feature is going to be the NPME. Then put everything in the same platform and see and evaluate whether you're good to go or not. Don't trust me, Jessica, if I say you're beautiful, because I could be lying, right? Or maybe I could be telling the truth. Then somebody else next to your neighbor or your school friend tells you like, you're bad ugly. Maybe he's lying. Maybe he's telling the truth. You never know. But if you go and reach home at the end of the day and then you think about it, it's like, am I beautiful? Am I ugly? Or am I okay? Then you have to take the evaluation of all of them in parameters. So that's being said, please understand to use the resources in terms of priorities. Sakina, yes, but I also have to prep for NEET PG because it's become compulsory for the medical license now, so I'm having a hard time focusing on both. Sakina, I already told you if you are studying for USMLE, you're not studying Greek or Sanskrit. You're studying medical sciences. So, all right, so I'm not going to debate and dwell more on that because I already made myself clear. Tanya Dabas, how much time will it take after clearing step 1? Will I till I get into residency. It's up to you, Tanya. It depends upon whether you're a graduate, you've got nothing better in life to do except for step 1, step 2 CK and get into US residency, or have you taken a step 1 exam and then still have to complete your medical residency and medical school, right? So on an average, if you have got nothing better in life to do except to focus on the exams, then I would say it depends upon your readiness and strength on step 2 CK and step 3. If you spend even more time, a little bit more time on step 2 CK, I would still think that you're okay, because instead of spending more time on step 3, you would build your strong foundation of clinical knowledge during the step 2 CK preparation time so that you can just bridge the gap and reduce the time for step 3. You know why? Because I told you it's the same 5 subjects that you will be tested. So I cannot just personalize it, Tanya, to say like this is how much you're going to take, because I don't know you. Now, if you want to just have more conversations in detail in person, you're more than welcome to reach out to me so that I'll have a clearer picture. Aditya Basu, WDOMS does not recognize Empire and how the medical services to apply. So I think this topic was covered by Abhishek LogicQuest at one of the YouTube seminars. So I will just deflect it back to contact him, and he would be able to get it back to him, because this is going to be a long conversation. Is it possible to get emergency Bhavathaniri Durai? Let me say Durai, otherwise I'm going to screw up your names. I can say Bhavadurai. Bhavadurai, is it possible? It is possible to get even radio-oncology, plastic surgery. Emergency is not impossible. Impossible is nothing but I am possible. So always think positive. If you think that, is it possible? It's like, I was told that it is not possible for any international, forget about Indians, they're not going to get it, then you will study less, you will work less, right? So if you think that, I know it's going to be tough, but it is a possibility, like I showed you in the previous slides, there are people who got into residency. If you can go back to the slides, I can show you that, yes, look at this. I know it's going to have a little bit of time. Emergency medicine, 4.8% of IMGs in the specialties. So what does it mean? It sounds less, 4.8, even if it's 1%, to be honest. This is how positive you have to be. Even if the chances of percentage of IMGs in emergency medicine is 1%, if that happens to be you, that is it. End of the story, right? You see this, right, on your screen? Emergency medicine is last. It's 4.8. At least you should be lucky that it's 4.8. Worst case scenario, even if it's 1%, if it's you, congratulations, you got it. All right. Tarun Rajiv, what's a good score to get orthopedic specialty? There is no good or bad. Sky is the limit. Tarun, the score, if you ask me what is the highest score or the top roof that you can break for USMLE, there's no answer for that, but I would give you a real answer. It's of 300. Now, out of 300, the highest score that I have seen personally, not heard, not read in Quora.com or StudentNetwork.com or Google.com or Gossip.com, where you can just say a lot of things and write a lot of things. But one of my students got 274 in step 1. That is the highest record. And I'm waiting for Tarun to break that record, and all of you guys to break that record. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you this. 274 is from India too. So obviously you have a brother to beat the competition too. All right. Naveen, I finished MBBS preclinical post-graduation course. Will my chances be slim? I have completed PG in India recently. I think that is a similar question to Dr. Kapoor, right? So it doesn't really matter about where you did and how old you are as such, so long you score high. That's the primary preliminary requirement to be at least noticed by the program directors. Okay? Vasudha Sharma, with current OET cancellations and 900 EcfmG cert fees, is this match worth it? I have current pre-COVID LORs, step 1 done, CK plan in a month or so. With current OET cancellation and 900 cert fees. Vasudha Sharma, if you have been there, done that, then you would be the dumbest person in the world to just cancel it, right? You're talking about worth it. I would say, honey, you have already done it. You're just right there, the finishing gate. You're lucky because a lot of people are yet to start. You know, your friends right now who is online, they're just like, lucky you. You should be having a glow on, a halo around your head right now. It's like, yeah, I've already done it. 1 CK, done, right? So think about it in a positive way and just go forward for it. With cancellation right now, it's just all temporary, but go for it. Which one is preferred, Indian LORs or telerotations LOR? Well, like I said, currently telerotations will do, but I would say number one LOR is going to be from the United States. Second is hands-on and Indian LORs. And then just for sake, if you don't have any options, then telerotations are also okay. But Anamika, if you are not yet done with your clinical rotations, the steps, then I would defer to take the letters of recommendation or clinical clerkships outside, because you might get the letter right now, but when you apply, then it's going to be a little bit archaeologically dated. Karthikeya Joshi, will the H-1B visa restrictions make an effect on number of applications being approved? Good question, because you shouted out, which is not nice, Karthika, because you just wrote all in a capital. Will the H-1B visa restriction make an effect on? The answer is no. H-1B visa restriction is not only, it's only meant for technical specialties, like ITs mainly, and other laborers and staffs. When we're talking about H-1B visa for your residency, the residency H-1B does not fall on the annual quota. So obviously, there's no restriction on it. Okay? So be careful, be happy that the H-1B visa, there's no quota. We are talking about the IT and the business and all those things. So H-1B visa has no restrictions at all for medical specialties, residency. Swati Deshpande and Gen Surg passed MBBS in 2010, Gen Surg in 2014. Will be this is a surgical residency. Will I get a waiver of PGY1 considering my clinical experience? Woo! I wish, and you will. I've seen that happen, Swati. But again, all my answers goes back to the similar answers. Just let's talk about your step results, and then if you're not sure about it, now will you get a waiver in PGY1? I have seen one. I'm not going to say that it'll happen every time. But I've seen one student of mine who came from Spain, I think, one of the European countries, Spain. He was an orthopedic cardiovascular surgeon from there. He got into residency in general surgery, right? Because obviously he applied for cardiovascular surgery, but he did not get it. So he got into general surgery. Then year one of his general surgery, then what he did was he proved his worth, because obviously he was not a kid, just like the other batchmates of the teams in the residency. So he got lucky, and he got jumped on to the third year of general surgery the very next year by waiving 1 year, jumping on. Now, there are a lot of factors that depends on it. Maybe he got lucky because there was an empty spot, unfilled spot there, because the third year student either left the program or something happened to him or her. So a lot of factors there. But again, to cut it short, I would definitely take the step one first and evaluate and think about worrying about those things later on. But yes, your clinical experiences, your academic achievements, your PG, your PhD, your thesis experiences as faculties, attendings are definitely going to kick in to help you. Biochemistry branch. Sangeeta, I think you don't need a residency for biochemistry, I think you have to do the PhD and get into it. I'm not so aware of that. Vinita Shingari, can you discuss more about the EcfmG certification? I don't know, Vinita. I cannot go back again. You have to watch the recorded video. Can you discuss more about it? Well, that was it. Chandan Kumar Chowdhury, roll number 4. How do you use capital resources? Which ones to start with? Books, videos? Very good question, Chandan. I would not answer this because this is going to be one-on-one consultation, so I would rather recommend you to contact LogicQuest and Abhishek's team so that he would be able to walk you through with the proper guidance. And these guys are trained. All our agents are trained. We have a couple of agents in India and all across the world. They are being trained regularly. And yes, out of 100 questions, they may have 1 or 2 questions that they may not have it, like academic questions, because obviously they are not doctors. So they are going to not answer that. They're going to waive it to me, and then I'll be able to get back to you. Shiv Atman, lost interest in US Assembly prep after Trump's ideology, America for Americans. Shiva, if you say that, then I can say the same or similar things about a lot of countries, right? So it's not about you. Especially you, being a doctor, you should be the last person thinking about ideologies. Your job is to save. When you first joined your medical school, you took the Hippocrates Oath, right? What was that? The Hippocrates Oath said, I'm going to take care of all the sufferings. He did not say all the Hindus, Muslims, or Americans, or black people, or brown people, right? So that's the last thing. So that's a lame excuse. If you're thinking about that, then I think that's lame. I'm sorry to say that. Charcoal name. Can we apply without step 2 CK? Yes, you can. But it all depends upon how good step 1 result is. And by the time, if you're an EcfmG without green card or citizenship, then you will have less chances of getting interview calls. So when you apply, try to apply with all your residency package in full and totality. Dermatology EcfmG friendly or not? Visual. Every faculties, every specialties, every subspecialties, they are friendly, depending upon how you take it. See, you guys are being pessimist. Oh, just because Trump said, oh, for American, make American better. And I was like, oh, well, EcfmG friendly, with double question mark. So that shows how your mentality works. Instead of saying and asking me, Ujjwal, is dermatology EcfmG friendly? You should ask and rephrase this question. Can I get into dermatology? Right? So that's a positive spin of it. Is EcfmG friendly? Definitely it is friendly in all the spares and specialties. But like I told you, the analogy of if there is a less number of seats, like I showed you in this current slide that you see the chances of people getting into it. I know that you're asking dermatology because you don't see dermatology. Now those people who's not seeing things there, they was like, what about radio oncology, right? So this is just a scenario example. But yes, you have to work hard. You have to work hard in such a way that you need dermatology and then you will get it. What score should I be aiming for? Amulia. What score should I be aiming? You should be aiming for the stars. If you aim for the stars, if you miss it, you will reach in Mars. But if you aim at moon, then it might just be lying down somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. All right? There's no good score, but the good score is the best score that you get. But the least score, the average score that you're looking at is 250s. That's just the average. If you want to shine bright and prove yourself unique to me as a program candidate, then give me above 260s. Then I will look at you. I'll pay attention to you. Maybe I'll invite you for the interview. Varun, how much gap after graduation is acceptable for matching? Well, like I said, some programs range anywhere from 3 to 5, right? However, that's not the mandatory rule or cutoff. It's not black and white. The question about the gap year is after you finish your graduation as a student. But just like some of your friends who are here online and many others around the globe, there are people who have graduated 10 years, 15 years, but they still get into residency. Why? Because they scored equally high than fresh grads, plus they have a lot of experiences, plus they have a lot of publications and theses and researches under their belt. Shashank, my score is 180 right now. I'm thinking of sitting the step in a couple of months. I'm currently doing first aid view world. I'm not so sure what I'm doing wrong. Shashank, if you have taken the Kaplan course, you should contact your medical advisor. They will walk you down and walk you through the process. Right? This is an advising session that you're asking. So obviously, if you've not taken any Kaplan courses, then obviously you will not be having any kind of student advisors to help you. But definitely, I'm sure that you must be having a Kaplan advisor that you can reach out to. Or you can talk to one of our agents. Telehealth rotation, I'm going to take the last 2 or 3 questions down. Telerotation is helpful. When in medical school right now? I mean, any rotation is good right now because it's not because you love it. That is just the option, secondary option right now. So if it's secondary option, then something is better than nothing. Instead of not doing telehealth rotations, what would you do? Do you have any other options? No, right? So obviously it's going to be, yes, it is useful. Duh. Do you have any other choices? No. What are my chances for further studies in the US after my degree of MD medicine in India? Well, wish for a Rator. I think you have 2 options. One, you can join residency, just like Cool Shack and Shashank and Varun or Ayush, right? For that means you have to think that you're young, you're like them, and you have to study for steps and then get into residency and redo your residency in a specialty of your like or the same one that you did. Okay? Now, on the other side, there's a plan B that you can do visiting fellowship after you finish in the United States. Now, when we talk about visiting fellowship, at one point of time, they never asked you about the residency kind of USMLE steps. But now there are more and more wishwasses around the world. So most of the programs who offer the fellowships, they are now started asking for USMLE Step 1, Step 2 CK, and even some of them have started asking for EcfmG certification as well. So that's what you can do, option 1 and option 2. Ayush, sir, I'm currently in second year, and if I complete all my steps and rotations by internship, then will my scores be valid for another 2 years, as we have 2 years of mandatory rural service in our state? Well, one thing you need to understand, Ayush, is if you take the step 1 today, your step 1 result and the scores shelf life is for 7 years. So if you take the exam today and you get the result today, that is valid for 7 years, meaning from now on, you have 7 years that you can do anything. So 2 years of ruralship is very less inclusive of the 7 years. So you're good. So it's going to be alive. All right. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I know that I talked a lot, and I hope that this session was beneficial for you guys. Like it was nice of me to interact with you, right? I would like to thank you for your time and definitely wish you the best of luck in all the spare of life. And if you have any questions, like I said, I've already pasted my contact information earlier so that you can just email me or reach out to LodgeQuest. All right, very good evening, a good night for you guys. And then thank you